Hey everybody, just checking in today. I would like to share with you a little bit about laying off employees, team members, and your responsibility to do what's best for the company. And as the owner, you have certain feelings and responsibilities. As the employee or an office manager or a COO, you have a different kind of responsibility and you have to do what's right for the company as well. Some owners don't know their numbers. They don't know their capacity. They don't know how everything plays together to see their profit and loss. For my team and for my team in the office, as well as our team members out in the field, we're able to see what the capacity is of the team and the percentage of time per hour that an employee is actually being profitable for the company. So you can see what they make and what is required to make per hour, depending on what they make, to be able to give you the amount of revenue that they're actually bringing in. And you don't want to go over just one pay period and find those numbers for your employee. You want to go over several of them. But the topic of laying someone off is very challenging. The whole idea of it is challenging for a couple different reasons. One is you're not firing someone. So it's very emotional in the way that you're attached to these people. These are some of your best people. They are incredible employees. They catch the vision of the company. They are good team members. And yet you're going to have the struggle of being the person responsible for keeping the company running. You're the one that's responsible for making sure these people have jobs. And so there's different ways to look at it. And you can work with your employees by telling them when they're hired that they could possibly be laid off. But what if you have no idea? What if you don't know in the future that you are going to actually learn to run your business efficiently? And you're going to do so well at it and be so prepared that you are actually overstaffed for the amount of work that people who have been trained well can accomplish in a day. And so you have to come to a place where you have to let people go, lay them off, figure out what to do to keep revenue coming into your company. You cannot have a whole bunch of overhead of people that are sitting around twiddling their thumbs and not making any money for the company. There are times that it's absolutely vital that you keep people on whether you're busy or not. For instance, I run a call center and calls can come in all through the day, different fluctuating times, different fluctuating amounts of calls, and I have to stay staffed for the peak of the day when there could be the most phone calls. So I can watch that over time. I can see when the minutes are for the highest performing times of the day, and I can make sure I have people there. The reason I am bringing this up is because I struggle with the same thing. So if you have a crew in the field or if you have technicians in your business, whatever you call them, team members, and you have not said you're only hiring for a specific amount of time. Let's say you have a seasonal job, business like lawn care. When you do your interviews and you're hiring, you would think that it is a seasonal job. Now, for many of us, we have started adding what we call here at Augusta winter services, Christmas lights, snow removal, or people do nothing in the winter and regroup, go on vacation, do whatever, and then they come back in the spring. So typical mowing seasons are March 1st to the end of November. And you can hire people in February, train them a bit, and know that they're going to be fully running by March 1st and that things are going to slow down. In August, it typically slows down because the weather gets drier and there's not as much grass to mow, meaning the crew can shoot through those jobs a lot faster. So sometimes in August, you're really feeling like the guys are flying through everything. You're sending them home early. They're making good P for P. and you kind of struggle a little bit whether you should let your lowest performers go or make some decisions for people to leave for the time being. However, you're going to get to October where we live and it's going to start raining again, the grass is going to start growing again. People will actually think, "Oh, I don't need lawn care in August," and they actually quit for the season and they realize, "Oops, I got to start up again," meaning the customers, and they need your mowing service again. So those are the times you probably want to keep people on, because it's more expensive to hire and train someone than sometimes it would be to keep the person on. And so that's what you got to watch your numbers for and keep in mind. So if you have never told them, and if you're so dedicated to your employees and you want to say, "Oh, I would never lay my people off. I would just pay the cost, continue to pay them, have it coming out of the accounts, and none of that coming back in." I know from experience because we did that. So one year we just wanted to keep everybody on. So we paid them their wage, their hourly wage, nothing was reduced. And we had them all paint the office. We brought some big containers in. We put equipment in them. We did a move from one shop to the other. So we had cleanup of property due, gravel to bring in. And so that kept some of them busy. And we just wanted to make sure we paid them and that they still had a job. Well, we lost $150,000 just over those few months because we were certain we wanted to keep them on and not lose them. Other times we started what was called like a home improvement division called, what would we call it? Pro something. We certainly were not pros. So this was taking guys that were working in the field and bringing them into people's homes to move things, install lights, repairs, fix things. And it was a gong show. It was ridiculous. We had guys that they're clumsy. They broke things. They would say they were good at putting stuff in and they would epically fail. We lost a lot of money doing that, but our goal was keep the crew busy in the winter. So that was a mistake, but we learned from our mistakes. That's how we get better. Then we invented winter services. And those of you who don't know what winter services is, it's a whole list of stuff you can do at a property after you stop mowing. So it's different for every Augusta company. So it would be different for your company as well. And you list things in order. There's no P for P. The team is obligated to take the full amount of budgeted hours. And for the customer, it's a bi-weekly mow price. So we come every other week. We spend the entire budgeted hours, whatever's listed from their bi-weekly mow. And then we take care of a specific amount of things, as much as we can get done in that amount of time. So we might check the gutters. We might look around on their porch and see if there's cobwebs. If there's a little dusting of snow, we can remove that snow. We bring a bucket of salt. We can put salt down. We check the siding and we make sure there's no branches or anything coming up against that. If there is, we quickly trim that. In the southern states, they may continue to mow. If the grass needs to be mowed, they'll mow it. We will edge. Incredibly so. We will edge and keep it really nice throughout the winter months, because when spring comes, you're going to have that property dialed in. It's not going to be like you're getting it ready to go for the spring season. Your guys can just take off and do it. What we found in the beginning was, I think we had like 12,000 something people in our database. We had around 300 and something recurring customers. I think there was only 40 that took the winter services. So as it becomes common, the customers understand by the verbiage that we give them on the phone that in the winter, when your mowing is completed, we don't miss a beat. We roll right into winter services. It's the biweekly price. And so the customer is trained that that's just how it works. And so they learn that there's always eyes on the property. We're always there to do everything that's on the list, as much as we can get done in those budgeted hours and fulfill that specific time. So over the years, it's become more natural to the customers and they get used to us doing winter services. before those winter services become enough and become common enough to your customers to where many of them will accept winter services or snow services or Christmas lights until you've got some good marketing and got those things out there. And if there's no snow, you again have the challenge of all these people that you've hired, and what are you going to do for them in the winter? So we learned from our mistakes, and this year, as the winter services have grown more, the field crew are going to have more to do. So what we've done for them now, when we hire, we do tell them it's a seasonal job, that we can guarantee them 15 to 30 hours, somewhere in there, from the months of December, January, and February, and that's what they understand. So they know they're going to have less hours, and they are prepared for that, and they're giving a lot of notice. So one of our team members, Brad, which you may know, he now does the taxes for all customers, home service CPA. If you want to look him up, he's fantastic. Well, Brad did the lawn care during the summer, and he is a certified accountant. So during the winter and up till tax day, he did taxes, and then he came back in the summer. And that was just because he really caught the vision of the company. He wanted to be with Augusta, and he wanted to grow with us. And he was with us for a long time till we were able to find a position for him now, and he's not in the field. And that's a whole nother video I would have of finding, you already have the employee, and you would find a position and build a position for that employee. So I'll talk about that some other time. We also had another young man who would work in a college close by, and he would do the janitorial work there in the winter. So he knew this job was temporary, and he was going to be able to work inside and do night shift and do the janitorial work of this college during the winter, and that's what he did. We had others who knew they were going to be laid off in the winter, and they would plan to work at the ski resort all the way till March or April and come back and start mowing with us and spend the season with us, and they loved that. Let me see, others that we had, they would take advantage of the time to go on long vacations with their family, visit others out of town. It was the perfect time for that. But because they're already told that, they prepare for that. They don't expect the company to have something for them in the winter. So now that I have moved into an office setting, when we have spring, I don't know at the beginning of spring what it's going to be like for my franchisees and the volume of calls and estimates. We get better at marketing. We get better at having our brand out there. And as we grow and as our brand becomes more recognized, a lot more business comes in without even marketing. So it's important to remember that there's no way I'm going to know exactly how busy it's going to be when I get to spring. And what my command center does is we do every office task that you can think of for our franchisees. They have an a la carte menu that they can choose from, and those are the services we'll do for them. Well, their work is seasonal, and so they are also going to have less work as they get to August. We're going to be like staffed completely here so that we don't miss any phone calls. I am here at the command center now. It's on a Sunday, so no one's in here. But we will need to be staffed for the phone calls, for the QuickBooks departments. And so when the franchisees don't want some specific task, or let's say they're not comfortable doing QuickBooks, all of that comes back to us. So we have to be staffed for that very busy time. What happens is the franchisees grow, and for the very large companies, they still work with us. We still answer their phones, but they end up getting an office assistant in addition to command center. And so with that, it means there's less of those tasks coming to command center. So it becomes almost a seasonal job here at command center, the same. And what I have had in the past is when I get to the winter, that is when I need to cut back on hours and lay people off, cut low performers, that sort of thing. But this year and every year, we get more dialed in, we get better at what we're doing, which should happen in any job. And what I've done now is I try to quote unquote overhire for the spring, make sure I have enough people. There's always people going to be turned over due to firings. If you're late, you're going to get fired. If you don't show up for the team consistently, if you're bad blood to the culture, which I defend vehemently, you're going to get fired. If you accidentally are swearing on the phone, if you have a very thick accent, and I have worked with you and trained you, or basic skills on the phone and estimates that you just cannot comprehend, like the most basic things, then we work on helping you and training you. And then if we just can't, it's almost, it becomes an apology. I'm sorry that I put you in position where you couldn't succeed, where you couldn't do the job, and you're not grasping the concepts and being able to be on the phone with customers. Another one is if they take too long on the phone, if they take 15 minutes and talk about Susie's dog and her cat and the death of her goldfish and all of those things, we train them to redirect and get back to the subject. And if I see that people can't do that, I'm not going to waste franchisees' money by having a team member on the phone like that. So it's my responsibility to be listening to the phone calls. I have a phone call review team, and we make sure that we're listening to the phone calls, giving training to our team. We have a full training staff, a coaching staff, and we do performance reviews, we do evaluations, and we are able to cut the lowest performers. And when I say that, it's not what I can visually see. It's how many calls come in. How many yellow slips do we get? If I see 6 or 8 yellow slips, that means that this person is consistently making mistakes that they should not be making. Okay, I get it if you make 1 or 2 or 3 or whatever, but you shouldn't be making the same mistake twice. So you should learn from experience and not make the same mistake twice. So the struggle for me is to lay people off when they are so valuable to the company, when they are bringing revenue into the company, and you have to make these hard choices. So I am the COO, and so I am the operations person. And so I am responsible for this team. I have a boss to answer to, which is the CEO, and I need to watch the work that's being done, the amount of work that's being done, how it's being charged to the franchisees, making sure that we are timing things correctly. And then I'm able to get from there the hours worked, time pulled from work logs, minutes on the phone, and I am able to find the percentage of when an employee is profitable and bringing money in for the company and how many minutes of each hour they are profitable. And I look at all these, and when they have I don't do the one-on-ones anymore except for my admin team. But when I have my 2 skilled coaches do the one-on-ones, I might be concerned about a certain employee just because of what I'm observing in the room. And maybe I'm seeing them constantly asking people to come over and help them. Maybe I see in the same day that 4 people have been asked how to help them with something. Okay, and then I go pull one of those people aside and say, what's going on here? They say, oh, they're so concerned they'll get a yellow slip, they're questioning everything. I'm like, okay, that's valid. And then what about the other 3 times they were asking for help throughout the day? So I'm like, I need to have a look at their numbers. So I go back, I see they have a lot of yellow slips. I see that they are making random mistakes. There's verbiage in their phone calls that I'm hearing that I don't like. Those are the times we're going to have a conversation with somebody, and we will have to remove the lowest performers, whether I like it or not. It's my job. So if you're in charge as the owner and you want to waste money, that's up to you. There are times, though, when people are a culture builder. They can make very little for the company, if anything ever, which is very sad to say. But the value of what they bring to the company by helping others succeed, and by the atmosphere they create, and by the skills that they have with people, they show people by example how to answer the phone, how to serve customers, how to get money from people when they do a collections call. They're super good at that. Those people I have kept. and they are always striving to be better. They always have the right attitude. The franchisees love them, and would appreciate always having them. If they could hire somebody on their own, they'd want to hire this person. So I'm very aware of that and the value they bring in other ways, and they almost become just overhead cost. But I keep them. So you have to look at every single employee you have, the value they bring to the company. Are they bringing in revenue? And you have to think of every aspect of what they bring to the company. Culture. Can they fix things that nobody else can fix? That's pretty important. That's a whole nother avenue. That's per hour cost. And these are hard decisions that you have to come to, but people with seasonal work, guys in the field, stuff slows down in August, and you are going to have to cut your lowest performers, or you're going to have to let them know at the beginning of the season that this actually could happen. You can have them hang tight. It would be the least expensive to have them hang tight and just give everybody across the board a few hours probably. And then when you get into the winter, give them the hours that you can. Your more senior employees, or what I call seasoned agents in the command center that have been there longer, they are going to get more hours. And then over time, I am promising them full-time year-round as they build their career. What I have going on right now is I have made the command center so efficient. I have removed low performers. I am spending a lot of time and money to have my team build SOPs and standard operating procedures and give me manuals and videos. And they are just pouring themselves into creating this content for those that we will hire in the future. So that does take up some time. It's very expensive to do, but it is necessary that I can set up new team members for success the following spring. Once you've done all those things and people have their tasks done during the day, and there's certain tasks they can claim and complete, and once those are all done, what else do they do? I don't mind a certain amount of twiddling of their thumbs because I'm waiting for calls to come in. But if I'm watching the volume and I'm able to tell, for instance, if I have people working on Saturday and I get reports and watch the numbers, I can say we don't need that many people on Saturday or Sunday, and then I can pull somebody off. If it looks like we're super busy, then I can add people to the shift just by their feedback to me. So this year, instead of it being the winter, we are into August and my team has nothing to do, even in July. And that is because I need to sell more franchises, sell the command center services so that the franchisees will use us, and then we can increase our value, is what my intention is, that they would want to use our services. So when a company is in its infancy and it's just building systems, it's not really good at everything yet. And so it takes a while. And in that time, you have franchisees in these baby stages that are growing with us, and we can make mistakes and upset them. So my goal is that over time here, we will win them back. And then the new franchisees that come on, they know nothing but the good part. And we listen to our franchisees to make things better. But the whole point of this, you can become so efficient that you can operate the company with fewer people. And when that happens, it's like completely gut-wrenching. So what I did was I wrote a letter and I created 3 options that I could give my employees that I absolutely had to lay off. And I spent a lot of time stressing over this, and I wouldn't say stressing, but spending a lot of time considering the cost, like counting the cost of this happening, not in monetary value, but the emotional to the entire team and to these individuals, what it was going to look like. So I was able to offer them 3 options. And one was they take a layoff option starting a specific date, which for me was August 9th. And then they would come back February 17th, and that would be to train and get back going for the spring thing. And then I would offer them a bonus to come back. So I offered them $3,000 to come back in the spring. And that's awesome for some people. So I did. When I presented this, it was very difficult. Some people went and cried, and other people came and sat by my desk and were so like overwhelmed. They didn't know what to do with themselves. I'll tell you a little bit about that. And then there were others that I offered 4-hour shifts. So their hours would be cut in half. And I offered that. And then I offered people to be able to stay on, and well, the ones that were leave, I would still pay for their insurance while they were gone also. I don't even know what my third option was. Yeah. I don't remember what it was exactly, but to give this letter to them was so hard. And I put it on each of their desks. In the letter, I wrote how much I appreciated them and then gave them these options. I'm trying to remember what the third one is. I hope it pops up for me into my mind. But I'm not thinking of it because no one chose that. And so the ones they were chose are what is relevant and what's in my mind. So what I saw was shocking. And this is going to happen for you too, what I experienced. I had one employee who needed some medical procedures done, and they didn't know how they were going to do that with their full-time job. And so the sabbatical or the layoff was perfect for them. They're going to take care of their medical issues. They're going to get well, and they will be ready to roll. They'll get the bonus, and they'll be back in February. And I have other people that chose the part-time, which is what I wanted them to do because I still wanted to be here with the team and be a part of the culture. And, there'll be holidays coming up. And I just want them to still be with us and engaged. And most of them chose that. And the third option was to go somewhere and find a full-time job, and then they'd have their job when they came out. So let me suggest and tell you some of the places that you can recommend to your employees. So Amazon's busiest time of the year is our slowest time of the year. So I do have employees that work full-time for Amazon, and then they come back in the spring. So nowadays, that's a perfect solution. It's also the time when retail needs people and they hire extra people. And so it's a good time to go to those jobs knowing that they're going to tell you that this is a seasonal job and this is only going to last till January. And you're like, awesome, because I start back February 17th at Augusta. It'll give me a couple weeks. So there are other things that they can be doing, and it's positive for them. And if they end up finding something better, then we bless them, and we want it to be what is best for them. And so I did have employees that went to the 4 hours, and I appreciate that. And then every day they leave early. There are projects that I have, and this is the time of year that I have people do them. They run errands for me. They mail packages for me. They help me in our franchisee training studio. They help me clean that, and just a lot of tasks that we've been able to, that we maybe don't have time to do at the busiest time of year, and a lot of team building things, because when we're really busy, it is hard to be like, oh, how are you doing? And all these little things. Like, we lock in and work. And so these times are good times to do team building activities. So what I would recommend with your guys in the field is to let them know from the get that this is a seasonal job. However, it will eventually be full-time. And that's what I've told my team. So the OGs, the people that are seasoned agents and been here 3 years, they are guaranteed the 8 hours. They are guaranteed full-time. And so it's the newer, like the phases of people that I've hired, that I would then take the next phase of people, and then I would ask them to cut back their hours. The ones that have taken on positions that make them very valuable to the company, I need them to continue to do those tasks. So I wasn't able to offer them the layoff, but the ones that were able to stay on really appreciate it, and they do the best they can, that if there's any kind of slack, they're going to pick it up. If it's slow, they realize that they're pretty lucky to have this job, and they're very thankful and appreciative and don't mind if things get a little bit overwhelming. You also have to work harder on your culture. not having the extra people there. And so we have a chat, a break room chat, where they can all talk about things on there. And in my mind, it's an absolute waste. It's an absolute waste of money. It's distracting. It's a pain. It's something I didn't want, but the teams asked for it. These are the times it's very valuable. And yes, I still think it's distracting, but we have a Philippine team. And in order to keep them engaged as well, I've asked that they post on there and become a part of the conversation more, because there's so few of us for this season. So in the past, it was in December. Now it's in August. And so I'm like profusely apologizing to people that this would even happen, but it's because our team has gotten so good at their jobs. They're so efficient, and they just get everything done fast, which is a huge blessing to the franchisees. When I say it'll eventually become full-time, it's because for your field crew, your customers will eventually get used to winter services if you do them. And you will continually do winter services. The winter is a good time for trimming. Skip it at a certain time during the year, and your 2 trimmings due in May, June-ish, and then do the other one in the winter. Best thing to do. And eventually you'll have enough work because of the volume of customers you have, and for the people that take the winter services, the Christmas lights, the snow removal. And for an office staff, as you grow your business and you get more customers, you're going to be able to keep your office staff longer. And for me, the more franchises I sell and the more I sell my services at Command Center, the more franchisees will be here. And so eventually, like my roster of employees next season, I won't have to hire as many, because now I've got these people that I don't have to train. They're stellar. They're 60% efficient, which is incredibly good, 60 to 80% in their efficient. And that means they are 50 minutes of their hour, they're actually bringing income, meaning they are locking in and working. And that's phenomenal. And then the other time would be bathroom breaks, when you have to, swing around and ask somebody else questions, where you're not bringing in revenue. But I have been very transparent with them. They understand that, and they take ownership in the company to make sure that they are efficient with their time, and they appreciate that. So transparency is huge. Also, in an office setting like this, knowing that the more franchises I sell, then it makes me supportive of the sales team. It makes my team think better. How can we better sell, quote unquote, sell our services to the franchisees? How can we make them want our services and get to the place where they are now so busy that they can't do all this extra stuff, and they throw it back to us? So with the a la carte menu, they can switch it up every week. So if they feel like they don't have a lot of jobs on the schedule, they can bring back their email and they can work on that. Or they can always leave it with us, and then they can constantly stay in growth mode. So I want you to know that are going to be times in your business where, for the sake of the numbers, for the sake of your employer or your own business, you are going to have to cut back. First of all, cut back your lowest performers. Secondly, each and every person by themselves, give them a letter, give them options. And the other thing I would suggest is you actually look around for jobs. So when I was able to check the local places that had job openings, and as soon as I gave them the letter and they came back to me and said they wanted to take the several months. I had another employee whose family member had surgery and they needed a caregiver. So the state here will pay, even if it's a family member, to be a caregiver. So this person was able to take the layoff for 3 months, 5 months, this next little while. And they were going to be able to be the caregiver, getting pay for their family member. So I only had 2 out of many, many employees who took the option of being laid off, 3 actually. And 1 had already been looking for a job because they drive an hour and a half every single day to work, and they don't have the option to move. So that person had already been looking for something else. So very positive, gave them a going away party, and they really appreciated that they were able to go ahead and have the option. But if they end up coming back here, they get the bonus and they can start their season right back up with us next year. So don't be afraid to do hard things. Be transparent with the team. Give them recommendations if you have to do that of where else they can go, and they can start looking. So I also did the date was out 2 or 3 weeks so that they'd be able to start looking for something. This affects your entire team. They get anxious, they get worried. You have to talk it out. You have to keep things forward before them, even if it's hard for you. And you have to tell them what you're thinking, what you're feeling, what is necessary. If those cuts aren't done, we lose business. If we lose business, or we don't have enough business to sustain our team, and if we continue to do that, it'll sink the ship. So you are having care, you're looking over, you're taking inventory, and you are protecting the business so that all of you have jobs the next season. It shouldn't be that you get to winter and you go $150,000 in debt and you spend the entire spring and summer just recouping that. So you never actually make any money. It's just like the scale of, oh, okay, now we're making a lot of money. Well, that's got to pay back the 150 from the winter. So we know that winter on seasonal work that we do in summer, like lawn care, is going to be less in the winter. And so you're going to have to cut back on people because the services are slimmer, and it's just going to happen. So let me encourage you to watch your numbers, be honest with your team, give them enough notice if you have to lay people off. Before that happens, you need to take out the lowest performers that aren't making any money for the company anyway. And these are people that I'm talking about that over months and coaching and training, and they can't bring their numbers up. Those are the ones I'm talking about. There's a very kind way to let people like that go. And it's important that you handle all these things very delicately. But I appreciate you all. I appreciate your effort to take good care of your employees. But it's still important that we do the gut-wrenching right thing when those times come, and to always keep the higher level view that we are trying to give everybody a job and keep the business running and not have to recoup costs later for going into debt when we're in our slow season. So be encouraged, learn from my mistakes, and keep pressing on. Have a wonderful day.